be checking out a couple of question and answers covering quadratic equations using completing square method, modular arithmetic, algebraic fractions, plane geometry, and linear inequality. So before we move on, ensure you like, subscribe, and put on your notification for the page. Okay, so now the first question we'll be checking out here is x squared plus 6x plus 5 equals to 0. Alright, first thing you do when you're dealing with this is to check for your constant term, in which case our constant term is 5, so plus 5, so which you're going to transfer to the other side, and if you're transferring it to the other side, you know it's going to become negative. Okay, that means you have 0 minus 5. So from what you have there, of course, you know that this will give you minus 5. So the next step is to divide the coefficient of x by 2, square it, and add it to both sides of the equation. And that we're talking about, what's the coefficient of x here? That's 6. You divide it by 2. You divide it by 2. If you're dividing by 2, that will give you 3. Now you divide by 2. Okay, square it. So squaring it, that will make it a 3 square, and add it to both sides of the equation. Now let's take a look at the equation. This is the equation. There's the same thing. We want to add 3 square to both sides of the equation. Now from what you have here, of course, you agree with me that adding to both sides of the equation imply that we'll be having 3 square. We'll be having 3 square added to the first side, and we'll be having 3 square added to the other sides too. So by implication from there, now the next step is to complete the square. When you're completing the square, the basic thing you should do is to pick your x here with whatever is in this bracket that has the square. Yeah, if you have done the right thing up to this point, it shouldn't be hard to pick. So what you just pick is x plus 3, then just square it, will be equal to. So at this point you can expand this, but this one you don't expand it, or else it will mess up whatever you're meant to have here directly. I mean, for you to easily pick out. So from what we have here now, we can then simplify further. If we simplify this further, that means we have x plus 3 squared equals to 4. So solving this further, we all know, of course, you find the square root of both sides. So square root of both sides of the equation by implication means this. Of course, you know this, we have your plus or minus. So this square cancels square root, and that implies that you have x plus 3, the square root of 4 is 2, so plus or minus 2. So at this point you can then bring the 3 to the other side. You take this to the other side, of course you know the negative will change to, the positive will change to negative. So that means x equals to plus or minus 2 minus 3. Now at this point you can separate it, because you know this contains two entities, two terms. Okay, that's x equals to plus 2 minus 3, or x equals to minus 2 minus 3. So x equals to minus 1, or x is equals to minus 5. Okay, that's that. Let's go to the second question. So from what we have there, 3x squared minus 18x plus 24. Now if you look at this is a little different from the first question in that the x squared has coefficient. So when the x squared has coefficient, the first step will not be to take the constant term to the other side. The first step will be to divide through by 3. So if you divide it through by 3, that's the coefficient of x squared. That means you're going to have this as shown here. Of course, from here, you know, 3 cancel here, 1, 3 here, 1. and from here 3 here 1, 3 here 6, and 3 here 1, 3 here 8. So of course you know that 3 in 0 will give you 0. So that will take us to the next value, which is x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals to 0. So from what you have there, we can then apply the previous method. Okay, of course we can take our minus 8 to the other side. I mean the 8 come to this side. Of course, by reason of that, it become minus 8. So the next thing, as usual, we divide the coefficient of x by 2, square it, and add it to both sides of the equation. So what are we talking about here? We divide the coefficient of x, that's minus 6 in this case. Minus 6 divided by 2 equals to minus 3, which is going to be, of course, by implication, the procedure says we should square it and add it to both sides. So if you're squaring it, that means we have a minus 3 squared to add to both sides. Of course, we know that this is our equation here that we have moved to this place. That's the same equation. So from what you have there, you can then add this to both sides. So if we are adding it to both sides, so that means the minus 3 square is added here, and the minus 3 square is added here as well. Okay, so as usual, you know this procedure, by that, like I keep saying, whatever you have here, don't evaluate it yet. So just pick the x here and pick the full value you have here. So by that, we can form our perfect square, which is going to be x minus 3 all squared equals to minus 8. Then you can evaluate, you can simplify this one here. So that means you have a minus 8 plus 9. Okay, so from what you have there, you can simplify further. X minus 3 all squared is equals to 1. So as usual, you find the square root of both sides of the equation. So finding the square can cancel square root. Okay, so by implication, we know x minus 3 equals to plus or minus 1, and from there we can say plus or minus 1 plus 3. That's our value of x. So if you split the two sides, you have plus 1 plus 3 and minus 1 plus 3, and that means x equals to 4 or x equals to 2. So we can move on to the next question, which is the last one for this part. 12x squared minus 11x plus 2 equals to 0. Okay, as usual, you divide through by the coefficient of x squared, which is 12 in this case, and we have 12x squared divided by 12. Let's do it one after the other. 12 we cancel 12, that's 1 1, and nothing can divide through each other here. So this one, in this case, you can say 12 here 1, and it's 2 here 1, 2 here 6, and 12 in the 0, that's 0. It can only go in 0 time. So from what you have here, x squared minus 11x over 12 plus 1 over 6 equals to 0. So in this case, we'll do the same thing that we have always been doing. That's by taking plus 6 plus 1 over 6 to this side, by taking 1 over 6 to this side, which you know we turn to negative. That's how we come about the minus 1 over 6 here. Okay, so the next thing is to divide the coefficient of x by 2, square it, and add it to both sides of the equation. So as usual, I like us to go through the procedure. Okay, so we want to we have our 11 minus 11. Now you have to be careful, everything here is what you're picking. That's from here. Yes, this is the coefficient of x in this case. Yes, minus 11 over 12 divided by 2. Of course, by that, that will imply this, and that means minus 11 over 12 divided by 2 will give us minus 11 divided by 24. Don't forget, we are dividing it by 2, and after that we are squaring it. We have to square it. Okay, so if you square it by implication, that means we are meant to have minus 11 over 24 squared. And don't forget, we are not meant to solve that value yet. Okay, so let's move on. We have our equation here. This same equation is what we have here. So now let's add the 2. So by that, we can then add it to the left hand side, and you add it to the right hand side. Okay, so adding it will give you this. Don't forget, like I keep saying, that what you need to do is pick your x and pick what is in the bracket. Then that will make up your square. That means you have s minus l over, that will be x minus 11 over 24 all squared equals to minus 1 over 6. Then you can evaluate what you have here and simplify it further. Okay, so from what we have here, let's simplify our right hand side. That means we have taken this as our LCM, as 6 can also go in 5, 6. So from there, we can then reduce this to this. Of course, at this stage, we know the next thing to do is to take the square root, find the square root of both sides of the equation. Okay, so from what you have here, you can, by default, square root cancels square root. Okay, so then we can simplify the other value. So that will give us x minus 11 over 24 equals plus or minus 5 over 24. So from what we have there, we can then take this value, that's our minus 11 to this side, minus 11 over 24 to this side. So what do you have? So you have this x equals to 5 plus 11 over 24, or minus 5 plus 11 over 24. So from there, you can then solve further, and that will give you your final answer to the simplest form. That's x equals 2 over 3 or 1 over 4. If any part of this video is not clear to you, you can replay it to get a better clarity. Okay, all right. Okay, let's take a look at this question. Find 17 mod 5. Of course, we know by implication 17 mod 5 equals to, of course, to get the value, what you need to do is, number one, you divide 17 by the mode value, which in this case is 5. So 17 divided by 5, how many times can you get 17 and 5? So we know that 5 times 3 will give us 15, equals to 15. And if it's equals to 15, what's remaining? 2. So this 2 here is our answer. So that means we have our answer. 17 mod 5 will be equals to 2 mod 5. Okay, so now for number 3, calculate 15 plus 23 all in mod 8. That's modulo 8. Okay, so from what we have there, what you just need to do is to perform the simple arithmetic operation there, and after performing the operation, you find the simplest value in that modulo. That's modulo 8. So as usual, that's 38 divided by 8 equals to 4. So remainder 6. 38 divided by 8, that's how many times can you get 8 from 38? That's 4 times, which will remain 6. So that's our final answer. That's 6 mod 8. That's the answer to that. Now the next one here, let's check it out. 3x is equivalent to 2 in mod 7. Now when you are dealing with that, of course you have to scale it up to get a value the procedure here is simple. You look at the value you have here, 3, and you look at the value you have here, 2, and look at the modulo, which is 7. So what you do is you keep adding this modulo value to these two till you have a value that is divisible by 3. Till you have a value that is divisible by 3. So until you have a value that is divisible by 3, you don't stop adding. And if there is a question that you keep adding and you didn't get a value that is divisible by the coefficient of x here, you know that something is wrong with the setup of the question. Okay, so that being said, from what we have here, we can then go ahead and just solve. Okay, from here we know if we add 7 to 2 already, we have 9, which is divisible by 3. So just do your division straight up. But until you have that kind of value, you cannot go ahead. So we know 3 here, 1, and 3 in 9, that's going to be 3. Okay, so from what we have there, so we can then say our answer is x equals is equivalent to 3 mod 7. Okay, now let's take a look at the 5th question here. Complete the multiplication table below in mode 4. Now we have the table here. Okay, so now let's pick them one by one like this. It means 1 times 1, of course, is 1, it's not up to 4. Okay, so what you do is for every value you get here, you get the simplest value in modulo 4. Okay, so that means 2 times 1 is going to be 2, and 3 times 1 is going to be 3. It's still not up to 4. 4 times 1 is 4, which is up to this modulo value. So what do? You do 4 divided by 4. What does it give you? That's a 1, remainder 0, remainder 0. So that 0 that's remaining is what you have as your value. So, and then the next one here, 5 times 1. Okay, you know that's greater than 4 too. So that means you have a 5 divided by 4. So which is going to give you 1, remainder 1. You have remainder 1 there. So that means the 1, you put it there also. So the same thing you do for this 2 times 1, that's 2 times 1. So what does it give you? 2. Okay, and then you have 2 times 2, so that will give you 4. And you know 4 divided by 4 as usual is 1, remainder 0, remainder 0. So if you do that, of course you know that will give you 0. And 3 times 2, that's 6. That's 6 divided by 4. 6 divided by 4, that's equals to 1, remainder 2, remainder 2. So that means that's why we have 2 here. Okay, 2 times 4, what does it give you? 8. That's 8 divided by 4. 8 divided by 4, that's 2, remainder 0. So that's why we have 0 there. And the same thing goes for the last one. 5 divided by 2, that's 5 multiplied by 2. 5 multiplied by 2. So you have a 10. And 10 divided by 4. So that's 2, remainder 2. So remainder 2. So that will give you, that's 2 as our remainder will be the answer. So as usual, you can go ahead and solve the rest. 3 times 1 will give you 1. 2 times 3 will give you, that's 6. 6 divided by 4, of course, remainder 2. And the same thing goes for this. That's 3 times 3, that's 9. 9 divided by 4, that's 2, remainder 1. Okay, and 4 times 3, that's 12. 12 divided by 4, of course that will give us 0. 2 by implication, and so on and so forth. You can get the value for every other thing there, every other entry that's supposed to be there. So that's that for the table. We have completed our table. Okay, so now let's move on to the next question. We're to solve the following equations. Okay, we have a form of algebraic fraction here, which we are solving together. Now, solution: 2x plus 3 minus x over 3 equals to x plus 7. Okay, so from what you have here, the procedure is still the procedure, nothing has changed. Okay, so from what you have here, of course, the simplest thing to do is to multiply through by the denominator, the only denominator available there. If you have more than one denominators, what do? You multiply through by the LCM. So in this case, we're multiplying through by 3. So by implication, we have this 2x multiplied by 3, 3 multiplied by 3, minus x over 3 multiplied by 3. We have x plus 3 multiplied, that's s multiplied by 3 plus 7 multiplied by 3, as shown there. So that means from here, we can then go ahead and then solve further. Of course, we know that is the 3 here. I cancel the 3 here. That makes it 1. 1 times minus x. That's why we have minus x here. All others, you can multiply them. You can multiply this. You can multiply this. You can multiply this. Okay. So from what you have here, you can just collect your like terms. So if you collect like terms, that means you have a 6x minus x minus 3x, while 9 move to the other side. Yes, it moves to the other side. 3x come to this side. So when you get to this side, you know that the sign will change too. Okay, so the positive there will change to negative. So from there we can say we have 2x equals to 12 and our x equals to 6. Okay, so from what you have there, let's take a look at the next question. From this next question, we have 5x minus 1 over 3 into x minus 4 equals to 4 plus 1 over 4 into 2x plus 3. Okay, so the first thing we do, we can rewrite this as this, and this is just to make it look like the proper fraction that it is. Okay, so if you write it in this way, it simplify, it gives a more simplified view for you, so as not to be confused. Okay, so from what we have here, like I said earlier, you will discover that we have 2 denominators in this case, so we have to use the LCM. That's if we want to use that procedure. We multiply through by the LCM. So we multiply through by 12, which is the LCM in this case. So if you're multiplying through by 12, from what you have the 5x multiplied by 12 minus x minus 4 over 3 multiplied by 12 and 4 plus everything equals to 4 multiplied by 12 plus 2x plus 3 multiplied by 12. So at this point, you simplify what can be simplified. 3 can cut 12 here, that will give you 4, and 4 can cut 12 here, that will give you 3. So we can then go ahead with the resulting value. So 60x, that's 5x multiplied by 12 will give you 60x, and then minus 4 will come to the back here. So for multiplying this, don't forget the sign is here. Everything is to be considered together. Okay, so the same thing goes with this. So 4 times 12 will give us 48, and 3 can then multiply everything here. This is what you have here already. So let's say expand the bracket. If you expand the bracket from where you have the, that means you have 60x minus 4x plus 16 equals to 48 plus 6x plus 9. Okay, so from what you have there, you can then go ahead and solve further, and solving further will give you this, and from there we can then get our value of x by dividing both sides by 50. Okay, let's take a look at this question here. We have to find the value of x such that 1 over x plus 4 over 3x minus 5 over 6x plus 1 equals to 0. So from what you have here, of course, we know the procedure. The first thing we do, we have our question here. The first thing we do is, of course, you can decide to multiply through by the LCM. If you want to do that, that's all well and good. Meanwhile, you can simplify the left hand side into a single fraction. What do I mean by that? Just simplify it as a fraction. Okay, so we're not multiplying through by the LCM, but you can. That will still work. Okay, so from what we have here, if you simplify this, that's taking 6x as our LCM. You take 6x as our LCM, so 6x in x, that's 6. That's 6x divided by x. So, you know, that's x cancel x. This will give us 6. And by implication, it means 6 multiplying 1. What will it give us? That's 6. That's how we come about the 6 there. So the same thing goes for 6x. You still do the same thing. 6x divided by 3x. I'm talking about this one here. So you're using the LCM to divide it. So what does it give you? Of course, x cancel x, and 3 here, 3 and 6, 2. So 2 times 4, the 4 that we have here. Okay, so that will give us 8. That's how we come about this 8 here. Okay, so the same thing go on. That's 6x. If we do 6x divided by 6x, so that's talking about this LCM dividing this LCM. So that will give you 1. So multiply the result by 5. That's this one multiplying 5. Okay, so if you do that, that means you have a 5, which is why we have the minus 5 here. So everything comes with a sign that is beside it, that is existing there already. So from what you have there, you know, this 1 is the same thing as 1 over 1. And if you do 6x divided by 1, what will it give you? 6x. 6x divided by 1 will give you 6x. So 6x times 1, virtually, that's because this over 1, that's 6x times 1. 6x will multiply the 1 again, so that will give you 6x. That's how we come about the detail of what you have there. So from what you have there, you can simplify further. If you do the simplification, of course, 6 plus 8 minus 5 will give you 9 plus 6x, okay, over 6x. So at this point, you can cross multiply. If you do your cross multiplication, this over 1, and you do your cross multiplication here, you can tell, you agree with me, that this will be equals to this. And from here, we can then simplify further, because 0 times 6x will give you 0. So that means 6x equals to minus 9, because 9 would come to the other side of the equation, from the left hand side to the right hand side. So that means by that, because it's positive here, it will change to negative. So from what we have there, we can then go ahead and then solve further by dividing both sides by 6. Okay, so we divide both sides by 6. So from here, you know, 3 here, 2, 3 here, 3. So that will give us minus 3 over 2. Of course, you know your final answer shouldn't be, you should not leave it in this form. It should not be left in that form. Okay, so that means you have minus 1 whole number 1 over 2. That's our final answer. Okay, now let's take a look at this. Simplify 3 over x plus 2 over x plus 1. Okay, whenever you have two algebra, especially this is a binomial, this is a monomial, okay, whenever you have it like this, the simplest thing to do is to multiply the two together. You multiply the two together. And meanwhile, when we say multiply the two together, in practice you are not multiplying them together to find your LCM, to get the value of your LCM. What you simply do is to pick the two values as product of each other. For instance, look at this. You have x multiplied by x plus 1. That's what you have here. So as usual, you do it one after the other. So x into x plus 1 divided by x. What will happen? That's x cancel x. What will happen? That's you have x plus 1 left. So you multiply the x plus 1 by 3 here. So that's why we have this here. That's why we have this. Okay. So from what you have there, that's 3 times x plus 1. So which gives us this. And the same thing you do again. You have x into x plus 1 divided by, in this case, you know this guy is dividing everything here, divided by x plus 1. So you know this will cancel this, so we are left with x. So x times 2, x times 2, that will give us 2x. So from what you have there, that means we can then simplify further by just expanding this. So 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 1 will give us 3. Okay, so that means we have a 3x plus 3 plus 2x over all of this. So from what we have here, that's 5x plus 3 over x into x plus 1. So that's it. So at this point, there's nothing else that can be done again. So you leave your answer as this. It's as simple as A, B, C. Okay, let's take a look at the next question here. If A ratio B equals to 4 ratio 3 over 5 and B ratio C equals to 1 ratio 3 over 7, find A ratio B ratio C. Okay, there are a lot of methods that you can apply to solve this question. The one I will be working with here is number 1, you place each of them under the respective ratio. For instance, A ratio B is 4 ratio 3 over 5. So you put it here as it is. Now the third ratio does not have value, so you leave it there like that. So now the next one, B ratio C is 1 ratio 3 over 7. So you write for B ratio C as given here. Yeah, 1 ratio 3 over 7. So from what you have there, of course, the third one does not have, that's the third ratio. A in this case does not have any value, so you leave it like that. So the two ways I will always prescribe. You can decide to group it like this, or you group it like this. So either of the group you decide to use will give you the correct answer. Yes, either of it to give you the correct answer. So from what you have here, meanwhile, from my own solving here, I make use of the first grouping, which is this. Yeah, I made use of the first grouping. So from what you have here, this will be equals to this. Are we still together? Okay, so now that's what I've done here. 4 ratio 3 over 5 equals to a ratio 1. So which you can write your ratio as division. We all know that our ratios means divide. Yes, it represents our division sign. In any case, it's equivalent to it. Okay, so if you multiply, of course, here we flip the numerator to the denominator and denominator to the numerator. So from what we have here, we can then go ahead and simplify further. You agree with me if you cross multiply here? Of course, you know 4 times 5 will give you 20. So if you cross multiply, you have 3 equals to 20. So if 3 equals to 20, then it's a equals to 20 over 3. 20 over 3. So we have gotten our value of a. What you need to do now is you return the a back to this position. A ratio b ratio c equals to 20 over 3 ratio 1 ratio 3 over 7. Okay, meanwhile we cannot leave our value in this form because we have fractions there, except if we are solving an OBE question and our answers, the options are presented in this form. Rather than that, it's better everything is transformed to whole numbers. And to transform everything to whole number, what do? You multiply through by the LCM of the denominator, which in this case is 21. Okay, so each of the time of the ratio is multiplied by 21. So from here, you know 3 here 1, 3 here 7, and 7 here 1, 7 here 3. So this one 20 multiplied by 7, we have 1 multiplied by 21, and we have 3 multiplied by 3. So that will give us our final answer, which is 140 ratio 21 ratio 9. That's a 12. So now let's move on. Now find the missing value in the ratio. If we are given something like this, this is telling you that this guy here is equal to this guy. It's also telling you that this guy here is equal to this guy. Even though this guy too, this guy is also equal to this guy. So you can pair it in the most convenient way, the simplest way to get our value, which is you can firstly pick this guy equals to this guy. That's 2 over 7 equals to x over 63. Okay, so if you do that, of course you cross multiply. If you do your cross multiplication, so that means you have 7 plus x equals to 2 plus 63. You do your cross multiplication, and 7 multiplied by x is equals to 2 multiplied by 63. So from what you have there, that's 7x equals to 126. Okay, so x equals to 126 divided by 7. Okay, so that means you can variably say our x equals 7 here, 7 in 12, that's 1 and 56. So that's going to be 8. So that's x equals to 18. And since we have gotten our x to be equal to 18, so that means we have 18 here. So you can then do the grouping again, which is what we have here now. So that means we have x plus 18 equals to 22 times 63. That means, of course, you cross multiply We do the cross multiplication here. So that means 18 times y equals to 22 times 63. So that will give us this value. We divide both sides by 18. That's 1386 divided by 18. So that means y equals to 77. Okay, let's take a look at this question. In triangle ABC, if angle A equals 60 degrees and angle B equals 70 degrees, find angle C. Okay, of course, this is a visual representation of the image given. This is a triangle, angle A, that's a 60 degree, which is what you have here, and angle B, 70 degree. You can see B, you can see 70 degree. Okay, and we have to find angle C, which is this small angle here. Very it's simple enough. We know that this is a triangle, and sum of angle in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So you just add this plus this to give you 180 degrees. So that's sum of angle. Don't forget to always put your reason. It's very important. Sum of angles in a triangle. Okay, so now you can also go ahead and simplify these two further. If you simplify them, 60 plus 70, that will give you 130, which is why we have this here, and plus C equals to 180 degrees. So you can simplify further. Your angle C, which is what we are looking for, is going to be 50 degrees. So what you have here should be 50 degrees. It's as simple as that. Okay, so that's it. Let's take a look at another question here. The sum of interior angles of a polygon is 1080. How many sides does it have? By definition, the sum of interior angle of a polygon is n minus 2 into 180 degrees. So if you are already given the sum, so that means n minus 2 into 180 will be equal to the given sum, which in this case is 1080 degrees. So expand your bracket, 180 multiplying n, and then minus 2 multiplying. So 180 multiplied by n will give us 180n. 180 times minus 2 will give us minus 360. Okay, so if you solve that further, you have 180n equals 1080 plus 360. So that means we have this, and that will give us this, and our hand then will be 80 degrees. The exterior angle of a regular polygon is 40 degrees. How many sides does it have? How many sides does it have? By definition, you agree with me that the sum of exterior angle is 360 degrees. Alright, so by definition too, we have derived this formula. By definition, the size of each exterior angle of a regular polygon is 360 over n. And you know the question says that exterior angle of a regular polygon. Now the size of each exterior angle of a regular polygon is 360 over n. So all you just need to do is to equate that 360 over n to 40 degrees. So if you do that, you have your answer. So of course, you know this over 1. So you cross multiply. So that will give us 40n equals to this, and that means n equals to 9. So the polygon has 9 sides. That's the number of sides in the polygon. Now let's take a look at another question here. solve for x. Now we have an image here. So what are we supposed to do? Of course, looking at this image, you will see plenty sides. I mean, you have angle here, you have angle here, you have angle here. Okay, so let's solve it one after the other. So from what you have here, let's take a look at this angle here. Okay, so now from what you have here, you can see your angle CDE is going to be 360 minus 312. How did you arrive at that? That's an angle at a point. So you know 312 plus CDE is going to be 360, because this angle here is angle at a point. The sum of angle at a point is 360 degrees. So this angle here plus this angle here will give you 360 degree. Okay, so that's why we remove this from 360 to get 312. Okay, so from what you have there, that means we can equally, then by definition, that means that place is 48 degree. So we have our angle here to be 48 degrees. Okay, so what's the next thing we can do? If you look at it very well, this is a parallel line, and this line is parallel to this line. Yeah, it's parallel to this line. So what do? You can draw another parallel line at the middle to pass through this angle x. So can you see? So if you draw the parallel line, let's say we extend it to f. We draw a line that extends to f as given here. So if you have that, can you see something from there? If you look at it very well, you can see, as usual, our z shape is already showing. So with this our z shape, you agree with me that we can apply our alternate angle rule to solve this further. You agree with me that DCF, that's talking about this side here. DCF is DCF. Can you see the angle there? So that's DCF, talking about this angle here. Yeah, it's equals to CDE. Here is the angle that we just derived now. CDE. How? Why? Because they are alternate angles. They are alternate angles. So by reason of they being alternate angles, that means they are equal. So that's why that will give us, that will give us 48 degrees. So you can see everything is having shape little by little. Now let's take a look at our line again. If you look at it very well, you will see that there's another part that will be our zero for alternate angles. So if you check very well, you look at this, so that will take us to talking about this angle here. You can see the angle there. So what can you say? That means there's a relationship between ABC and BCF. So we can equally say A also BCF, which is BCF, equals to ABC, yeah, which is equals to 52 degrees. Of course, they are also alternate angles. They are also alternate angles. So by implication, what you're saying is this place is also 52. Now, can you see something now? Can we easily get our x out straight up? Yes, we can. Because if you look at it very well, this point here is angle at a point. So 52 plus 48 plus x is supposed to give us what? 360. So we can just go ahead and do that. That means we have x plus 52 plus 48 equals to 360 degrees. So that's the angle at a point. That's angle at a point. Okay, so we can simplify further. We have x plus 10. We can simplify further. We have x plus 100 equals to 360 degrees, which we can then solve further. That means x equals to 360 minus 100. That's our final answer. Thank you. Alright, now let's take a look at these questions. Where this is an inequality question. 5x plus 8 greater than 3x minus 4. Of course, 5x plus 8 is greater than 3x minus 4, and 5x minus 3x is greater than minus 4 and minus 8. Believe you are not confused as to how we come about that. We're just collecting like terms. We will take 8 to this side, and we are taking 3x to this side. Don't forget, when 3x gets to this side, it becomes negative because it's positive here, and 8 2 is positive here. When you get to this side, it becomes negative. Okay, so from there you can then go ahead and solve for your x. Okay, so 2x is greater than 2x is greater than minus 12, and 2x over 2 is greater than minus 12 over 2. To cancel 2 here 1, so 2 here 1, 2 here 6. So that means our x is greater than minus 6. Okay, so from what you have there for number system, let's find x in this given question here. If find x if 2x minus 1 over 3 is greater than 1. Okay, there is also another very simple question. What do? You simplify by cross multiplying. We know that this 1. Whenever you have an inequality sign, you relate with it as though what you have there is equal sign, even though it's not an equal sign. So that means you have a 1 over 1. So if you cross multiply, you do the cross multiplication here. That means you have 2x minus 1 is greater than 3 times 1. So that will give you 2x minus 1 is greater than x. That will give you 2x minus 1 is greater than 3. So that means 2x is greater than 3 plus 1. Of course, 3 plus 1 will give you 4. To give you 4. Okay, so from what we have there, you can then go ahead and solve further by dividing both sides by 2. 2 here and 2 in 4. That will give us 2. So that means our x is greater than 2. So let's take a look at the last question here. We have minus m over 2 minus 5 over 4 is less than or equals to 5m over 12 minus 7 over 6. So multiply through by 12. Of course, we're going through the route using the LCM to multiply through everything. Like, you can simplify the left hand side separately to a single fraction, and right hand side separately to a single fraction. So if you are doing that, that will still give you the right answer. But if we are multiplying through by 12, of course you have this. So 12 multiplying each of the term. So 2 here, 2 in 12, 6, 4 in 12, 3, 12 in 12, 1, 6 in 12, 2. So You can then go ahead and simplify further. You have a minus m times 6, that will give you 6m. 5 times 3, that will give you, that's minus 5 times 3, minus 15, less than or equals to 5m. Of course, it's 5m times 1, and then minus 7 times 2, that's minus 14. So at the end of the day, we have the resulting equation. Of course, collect like terms. Minus 5m come here, 5m come here, become minus 5m, minus 15 come here, it become plus 15. Okay, so from what you have there, you can then go ahead and solve further. So that means you have a minus 11m less than or equals to 1. So if you divide both sides by minus 11, that means our m minus 11 we divide minus 11, giving you plus 1. Plus 1 times m will be m, and 1 divided by minus 11, the final answer. Because you are dividing by a negative value, that means your inequality sign will change. So your m is greater than or equals to minus 1 over 11. Okay, that will take us to the end of this video. I hope you find it explanatory and interesting enough for you to solve more questions. I will implore you to go ahead and solve as many questions so as to cement this knowledge. If you have any question, you can ask in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this page. We'll be serving you more. Thanks.